We got Isabelle Guarino joining me here again. Isabelle, and you can learn what her team is up to by heading over to RAL101.com to learn what we're going to be talking about here today. I'm going to kind of give the floor to you to define this asset class because this is going to be unique and it's going to be a great conversation.
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here. But we do residential assisted living. So, senior housing in a residential setting, a little bit like what Airbnb did to hotels. That's kind of what we're doing with the coming silver tsunami of seniors.
Yeah, I told you before we hit record that I kind of had somewhat of an experience with
Right.
something like this not too long ago. We're going to be diving into some of that a little bit, but if memory serves me, I think is this a company that you're?
Yeah. 14 years ago, my grandmother needed care and assistance, and we were looking for a place for her that could serve the purpose that she needed. She had broken her hip, and so she needed that 24/7 support and care. And as we were searching for places, every place smelled bad, the food was bad, the care was bad, they were expensive, they had waiting lists, and it was just like, this is not going to work. This isn't going to cut it. So my dad had been a real estate investor for 30 years up to that point, and he did quick math and was like, "Oh, wait. We're going to pay 5 grand a month for her to live in one of these, or we could own it, cash flow 10 grand a month. She could live for free. And, we could have this business that if any one of us needs it, we can go into it and not have to have those worries." So we got into the industry because of the need for my grandmother. And that was 14 years ago. And then 4 years later, people started asking, "What are you guys doing?" And wanting to come visit the homes and learn how to do it themselves. So we started training on it over 10 years ago now. And he had a full training company. Him and I worked together for 8 years prior to his passing in 2020. It's been a whole lot of fun along the way being able to not only own and operate these homes ourselves and serve so many seniors, but also show other real estate investors and entrepreneurs how to do this and take pieces of real estate that maybe aren't cash flowing the way that they want them to be and get them to have that really high return and great cash flow and also serve a population that desperately needs us because there is not enough good options for them out there.
You mentioned the property size, and the one that we have experienced was more of a facility. It was like a multi single level. There were two buildings. You're talking about more residential type properties. Can you talk about that ideal property? Are you looking for 5 bedrooms, 2 baths? What are you doing there? How does that work?
The first thing that you're looking for is actually what are the demographics of the area. So, not just any old big house will work, right? We have to be in the area where the 50 to 70-year-olds who are upper middle class, making 2 times the median income, homeowners, college grads. They are not the senior moving into the home, they're the adult child. And that is usually who's making the decisions. And they don't want to drive 45 minutes outside of town just because it's cheaper. They want to drive 5 minutes on their way home from work because they want to have the illusion that they're going to go visit every day. So, demographics is the first key component. But then, in regards to the actual piece of real estate, you do want as many private bedrooms and private bathrooms as you can have. Depending on where you live or where you invest, you're going to be allowed to have somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in the home. So it's going to be pretty much impossible to find a 16 bed, 16 bath, but you could find something that's 6 or 7,000 square feet and you're building an addition or even just converting it to become more bedrooms and bathrooms, living room, dining room, kitchen, even a movie theater, a hair salon, all of those different things. This is definitely luxury single family real estate, but it's still single family zoned residential. It's not the commercial buildings with the long hallways. It's definitely still residential in that way.
And so when you're placing these citizens, and this is kind of interesting or kind of on both ends of the spectrum. Just the other day, I was talking to somebody who specializes and does something, I'm going to say similar, but for college kids.
Yeah.
They're grouping them together. He's looking for the same type of asset class
Yeah.
just near colleges. In your case, what are you doing to make sure that this facility is a good fit for the resident?
Well, we hire 24/7 caregivers who are there, and you'll also hire a licensed administrator. So the administrator in the real estate world is kind of like the property manager. So they're the ones who are doing the marketing, touring with new families, onboarding new residents, making sure that they are the right fit. They're hiring, firing, training all of your care staff who's there 24/7 caring for the residents. But one of the biggest things that really separates a residential assisted living home from one of the larger big box communities, as we call them, is the care ratio. So in a large community, it's typically 30 seniors to one caregiver. In our communities, it is 4 to 1. So if you are paying the same to live in both environments, and in both environments, you get private bedroom, private bathroom, amenities, food, activities, but one, your care is 30 to 1 and one's 4 to 1. The 4 to 1 is so much more hands on. They can actually support you and help you when you need to get up out of bed and when you need to go to the bathroom or bathe or whatever the case is. In the 30 to 1, they literally don't have the manpower. So it's really sad because that's when you get people who fall in and aren't attended for hours and hours on end. You see abuse and neglect, you see UTIs and bed sores and all of these things happening. And it's not because those caregivers are bad and ours are good. It's literally comes down to ratios. And ratios to me are one of the biggest reasons why no one should ever put their loved one into a larger community. They just can't handle the care that your senior loved one needs at that point.
There's a lot of people that are going to be in a situation where they're going to rely on their retirement and that eventually runs dry.
Mm,
Like, how do they afford a facility such as you're presenting?
yeah.
Or maybe
Mo
that's not the target audience.
If we're targeting that upper middle class daughter Judy, right, the 50 to 70-year-old, a lot of people at this stage of life, they're using their cash, their savings, their IRAs, their investments to pay for their care needs. Many of them are selling properties that they own. Think of the baby boomer generation. They own the majority of the real estate in our country today. They were buying houses at 200K that are now worth 2 million. They can sell that and it can pay for their care needs. So there's a lot of ways that the, generations who are now coming into assisted living are paying for it. 10% of the population has long-term care insurance. That's a beautiful way to pay for your care needs. Of course, there will be some people who rely on government funding. Unfortunately, they do not pay enough. And so if you are going to be relying on that, you're going to be eating rice and beans and hot dogs and getting terrible, terrible care. So I always suggest that people figure out a plan that's not relying on their adult kids, because so many people do come to us and say, my adult kids are going to pay for it. The average stay in a care home is 3.5 years. So we are targeting those who are in private pay situations, who have that income, who can spend it on this and are prepared for that. But there are going to be a massive amount of seniors who don't have that as well and are going to be relying on the government. And they're going to be really sad when they see what the government's going to pay for them.
So you mentioned that it kind of sounds like it ranges. You mentioned $5,000 a month. And where on average are you charging per resident?
The average in our country right now today is $5,350 per month per person. But that's our country, right? So depending on where you live, it varies greatly, and not just by state, but even within the state. And then also based on, is it a private bedroom or a shared bedroom? Is it a private bath or a shared bath? Is it a kitchenette or is it just literally a bedroom? Also, your level of care. If you're deaf and blind and 500 pounds and need a two-person assist, you're going to be paying a whole lot more. So I speak to people every single day who are paying 10 to $15,000 a month for their loved ones in assisted living. I also speak to people who are paying $3,000 to $4,000. It is such a range based on the actual physical situation, what you need, and then where you're located in the country. But 5,350 per month is our average right now in our country, and it's gone up 87% over the last 20 years. And with the boomers coming into the market, the eldest of the boomers isn't even going to need assisted living for the next 5 years. So right now it's the silent generation. But there's 76 million baby boomers coming into this market over the next 20 years. And we're currently 1.3 million beds short. They cannot build these beds fast enough. So the cost of care, 87% up over the last 20 years, it's going to double that. It's going to be sickening how much care costs in our country.
Yeah. So the staffing, you mentioned you got 24-hour staffing.
Yeah.
When you also mentioned that in these larger facilities, they're like 30 to 1, but it almost seems like that there is a talent shortage.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you talk a little bit about how you're attracting these staff and how you're keeping them on?
Yep. It is the number one most in demand job in our country right now, today, and for the next 25 years because of the coming silver tsunami of seniors. So we have a big crisis in the fact that there is not enough people getting into this industry on the caregiver level who are willing to do that hard work and labor that it is to take care of a high need senior at that point of life. So it is an absolute crisis. I do not have an answer for it. But what I know is what I can control in our homes and in the students we work with, their homes. One of the biggest things that we do is to focus on those caregivers because to me, as the owner operator of the real estate, there's not much I can do to control the senior's experience. I don't live in the home. I don't work in the home. I don't even visit the home every day. I go like once a quarter. So I don't have as much impact on the seniors, but those caregivers, they're there all day long. So the best and most priority thing I can be doing is loving on, respecting, getting to know my staff and treating them like gold so that they in turn treat the seniors like gold. If you think about the experience of a caregiver, they're being paid minimum wage plus a couple dollars an hour. These days, you can get that at Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out. So, like, they are doing this because they care, because they love seniors, because they actually want to be there to support them. It's not a money thing for them. But when they get put in a situation where the ratios are against them, and it is that 30 to 1 experience, they can't even do the job that they're signing up for. Like, the system is set up to fail them. So when you have a caregiver come from that experience into our care homes, where they're basically hanging out in a mansion all day, getting fed 3 meals a day, and only have to care for 4 seniors at a time, they're like, this is the dream. They don't want to leave. They are thrilled and they're trying to get all their friends from the big boxes to come over and work in our care homes. So there is a shortage in general in the industry, but the opportunity we're providing them and the respect that we're giving them. If I'm making 10K a month on a home, I can afford to pay them all $1 more an hour. Like, I can do whatever's needed. If they call and say I can't come in because my tire blew out on the highway, I'll go buy them a new tire. Do you think the owner of Brookdale's doing that? No, they don't give a about their caregivers. They are numbers and cogs in a system. It is so bad. The way that we can love on them and respect them and just do simple things like that. A $400 tire is nothing off my back, but to them, that changes everything. That could be, a week of wages. They could be thrilled that I'm able to do that for them. So to me, it comes down to the love, the respect, what you're doing, as well as the opportunity you're providing that they just can't provide in those larger communities.
You made me chuckle a little bit when you said $400 tire, because a lot of people who are investing in single family homes and are using it for as a rental property, they would hope to receive just $400 of cash flow a month.
Mhm.
So these properties must be cash flowing quite well.
Really well. If you think about it, that 350, we'll call it 5,500 for easy math, right? So 5,500 timesing by, we said we can have anywhere between 6 and 16 residents in the home. So we'll use 10 right there in the middle. That's 55,000 coming in every single month. Your mortgage might be $10,000 a month because real estate's expensive these days and it is a larger, luxurious property. So take 10 away, take away 35 for food, activities, paying the staff, marketing, liability insurance, all the things that you're going to have to pay for to run this business because it's not just real estate, it's real estate and a business. So minus 35, that's one home cash flowing you $10,000 a month. And I'm not working in the home, I'm not living in the home, I'm visiting it once a quarter. I'm spending about 5 hours a week running it. They are incredibly lucrative and the demand for them is out of control. So that 5,500 is very, very average. None of my homes are charging 5,500. They're all charging a whole lot more, and all of our students are charging a whole lot more just because that is the cost of what it takes right now.
Just to remind everybody, RAL101.com. That is RAL101.com. That's going to be a clickable link in the show notes. If you found some value in what we're talking about so far, do us a quick favor, share this with one of your investor friends. And hey, we also release this on YouTube. So run over there, like, and subscribe. So, Isabel, this is intriguing, but and it sounds like a cash cow. I mean, that's how this is being presented. You got to give me some gotchas here. What are some of the pitfalls and some of the problems that people might experience?
I think we really hit on one of the biggest ones, which is staffing. You have to be able and willing to put in that work up front to set the tone in the home and the culture in the home of what you want to create, especially if you're not going to be hands on. I'll also say this, it's very capital intensive up front, right? You're buying a big piece of real estate, you're renovating it or doing a huge addition. You've got to buy furniture, fixture, equipment. You're paying for staff before you even have income from the seniors. So the amount of capital needing to be raised for these projects is a lot more than somebody can just probably pull out and feel comfortable with on their own. So we highly suggest that you don't use your own capital to do this and that you do raise capital for it, whether that's through a syndication, private money, an SBA loan, whatever it is, but not using your own money. I'd say staffing, the capital involved, and just the fact that this is a business. A lot of people are very hesitant to run a business. They like real estate because it's just a building and they don't have to deal with people. People's always the hardest part of any business. But I think in general, to me, when I see anything with the numbers that we're seeing with the baby boomers coming, the silver tsunami, the massive shortage, the rates skyrocketing, when I see numbers like this, it's like I'm looking at a crystal ball. All these problems that come, it's just like, okay, yeah, but the person who's willing to work through the problems and willing to push through the obstacles, they're going to get the pay at the end of the day. The one who says, oh, what if, what if, what if, and lets everything in the world stop them, they're not going to. But that person's never going to be successful at anything. So there are a million and one things that could go wrong. If I'm making this sound easy, hopefully everyone's getting the gist that it's not. There are still a lot of things that need to be done and could go wrong, but having systems, having a mentor or coach to guide you along the way can always help you navigate through those.
Let's say somebody was interested in this and they want to tackle it. Like, what is the ramp up time that you've seen on average to get something in place?
Depending on which of the 4 methods they choose to get started, there really could be a different ramp up time. So, if you're going to lease a home to use for this, someone else has purchased and rented the real estate. If you're going to buy a single family home and convert it to become an RAL, it depends on what you need to do with the renovation, but let's call it 3 to 6 months. If you're going to buy land and custom build a ground up, perfect, ready to go care home, it could be 1 to 3 years. If you are going to buy an existing care home, there's 30,000 of these that exist across our country today. You could buy one that's already up and running, buy the real estate, buy the business, you're cash flowing day one. That'll also probably take you 3 to 6 months. So the ramp up time is different depending on those 4 methods. And then, of course, your construction team and your contractor and weather permitting, that you can be building during certain times of year, as short as 3 months, as long as 3 years. And I've seen everything in between.
No, you this is residential property. Is there any kind of licensing or requirements that is, and I suppose that's going to be it depends type answer depending on the community you're in.
So it is a licensed residential assisted living home, and the license is based on points of egress, safety, fire suppression, different things of that nature. You'll hire the licensed administrator. We talked about them. They kind of run the whole business for you. And then the caregivers are licensed. So there's 3 licenses involved, but you as the owner operator are not necessarily licensed because you're not working in the home and you're not the home. So you're not licensed. But because of the Federal Fair Housing Act, we are a protected class. So any state, city, county, angry neighbor, or HOA cannot tell you no. It does not mean that they won't try, but they won't win because we have a law, federal law, that is protecting us. So even if an HOA says no business is in a neighborhood, we're not a business. We're a care home for seniors. And we can fight tooth and nail. We have fought tooth and nail for all sorts of people all across the country to make this happen in any neighborhood anywhere. And to me, that is the most beautiful thing that we have on our side, because you talk to Airbnb owners who just overnight their business is taken from them. That sucks. We don't have to deal with that because of this federal protection.
You give the example of a 500-pound person needing 2 people to like, is there a line you have to draw regarding who you can help in a facility such as this?
Yes. So there are different levels of care in the assisted living world, and it usually starts with independent living. They need minor help with landscaping or changing a light bulb, and it's just that little support, but they're walking, talking, moving, grooving on their own. That's called independent living, and it costs the least. And that's where you see a lot of people moving into 65 plus communities. Then you have assisted living, which is what we focus on. At that point, you typically need help with 3 to 5 ADLs, activities of daily living, which means getting up, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, taking medication, toileting, bathing, eating, all of those different things. You need help with 3 to 5 of them. So you can't really live alone anymore. You do need that assistance and support. Now, the next level, or kind of on a similar realm, may be memory care. So you're having brain change, you're having dementia and Alzheimer's and different things of that are happening where mentally you can no longer safely live alone. And you need different support when it comes to going to different places or things happening within the house, because maybe it's not a physical ailment, it's just a mental change that's happening to you. The last kind of stage of assisted living is skilled nursing, or a SNF, as they call it, or traditional nursing home. That's doctors, nurses, gurneys, IVs. You need round the clock medical attention and care. We cannot do that in a residential assisted living home. So if you are very high need in that regard, you will have to go to a SNF or a skilled nursing home. Those are insanely expensive. You think assisted living is expensive. That is sickening how expensive they are. But many people are not there for more than 3 to 6 months. Most people will pass in assisted living. If you move into assisted living, the odds of you needing to move on to nursing care are actually quite slim. Only about 5% move on to a nursing home. Really, nursing homes are for people who kind of wait, don't do anything, and then now they need a ton of support. So most of the time, people can pass on in an assisted living home, and many do, but there are levels of what you can and cannot support in those homes. So sometimes certain states will say, we can't take someone who's bedbound. We can't take someone who needs injectable medications. Like, there are different rules state by state.
Well, could you share a success story regarding one of your students? Like, talk about maybe they came in not knowing a lick about this, their motivation and where they are today.
Yeah, I mean, that's like everyone for the last 10 plus years, but it's been so much fun to watch people come in who have all sorts of different backgrounds. I'm thinking of some of our amazing students, Heather and Greg, and when they came in, they were like king and queen of fixing and flipping houses. In 1 year, they flipped over 600 homes. Like, insane. And that was their bread and butter. And they got to the point that they were bored. Like, they were like, we are making so much money with this. It's not even fun to go do it anymore. And that's like more than 2 a day, right? Like, they were going crazy with it. It was awesome. So they came to us and they're like, we really want purpose in our life. And Greg, the husband, his mother, she was in a big box community, and she had actually fallen when she went to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and she goes to press her button and the battery was dead. So she had to army crawl from her bathroom with a broken rib and a broken arm, army crawl to her cell phone on the bedstand and try to call. And she didn't know who to call. So she just calls 911. And lo and behold, it had been hours by the time that she got from there to make that call. So he wanted something with purpose and something to help his own mother. So they created the most beautiful 13-bed care home out in Nashville, Tennessee. It's spectacular. It's on this huge property and it's just gorgeous. They had the most amazing open house. They've been open now for, gosh, I want to say like 4 years. And his mom's been living there the whole time. They call her the mayor of the home and she loves it. And it's just the it's changed their lives in so many ways because it's not just the financial freedom. They were looking for purpose. They were looking for something that made them feel good at night about what they're doing. And they really needed a solution for his own mother. And they got both of those. And so to me, it's been just so beautiful to watch them and their journey. And the one home is cash flowing them like $25,000 a month. So they're like, we're good. We literally don't even want another one. Like, we just have this. We still fix and flip for fun on the side every once in a while. And I'm like, that is pretty cool.
Well, Isabel, this has just been fantastic as always. Again, I'm going to direct everybody to your website. Head over to ral101.com, ral101.com if you're interested in this niche.
I think as people are thinking of all the things that we're not talking about, something that probably is coming to mind is liability. And is that going to cost an arm and a leg? And the truth is, it is about $2 to $3 per day per resident. So with 10 residents, 900 bucks a month, it's a line item. You definitely want it. You definitely need it. And we encourage everybody to have it, but it's nothing to break the bank over. There is an answer for everything. There's a reason that 30,000 of these exist across the country and more are coming up every single day. A liability is nothing to be worried about if that is any of the listeners' concern right now.
When you say 30,000, that sounds like a big number, but when you talk about across the United States, that really isn't.
We're 1.3 million beds short. Huge opportunity. The boomers aren't even here yet. It's only going to get so crazy. There's no industry with numbers like this one begging you to get in. You can't look at these numbers and not get interested.
Well, Isabel, if you're ready, we'll jump into the rapid fire questions and close out this episode. What lie do real estate investors sometimes tell themselves?
Oh, I'm thinking of a lot of my single family friends who are always like, it's fine that, that couple $100 a month on just one house. Like, that's fine. We're just going to hold on to it for forever and it'll be worth it in the long run. To me, that's a big lie. You should make the money now and later.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would that be?
No one cares about you as much as you care about you.
What single strategy, process, or tool have you implemented that has had the biggest time saving impact to you or your business?
Oh, I am just such a big fan of systems, like everything. I try to systemize everything. So every meeting we come in with, this is what we're discussing. I want the notes down on it. I want you to present me a solution, but like you can tell me the problem, but what was your solution? And now let's talk about it. So to me, just systemizing everything with formats and making sure that meetings are productive has been such a time saver. And it really just helps people feel confident about what they're actually doing.
And then lastly, do you have a book recommendation?
I'm reading a book right now called Influence, but my favorite book recommendation is The 5 a.m. Club. I love that book.
Well, Isabel, this has been fantastic. Again, you can find more information by heading over to ral101.com. Really appreciate your time, and I hope you'll consider coming back a lot sooner next time.
Absolutely.